I've literally waited all week for this. I need that dress. So first things first is you're gonna need a pattern. You can buy my pattern at 33percentvegan.com or nyannanehm.com, or let's just say that you're not a big fan of pattern making or sewing. I will have this dress for sale in multiple sizes on my website as well. So I'm a big fan of not having margins or anything that block the pattern. So every single pattern that you get, you'll be able to cut out little pieces of it and then tape it back together. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now this is one of the pieces to the pattern. It's gonna look like this, and there's going to be little tabs that say tape. That's where you're going to tape another pattern piece to it, so the edges don't run off the side of the paper or anything like that, and it makes tiling a lot easier. So let's get to cutting. Literally every single week, I wait so long for the next episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty. Like I literally, I don't know what it is about the show. I cannot get enough.
Like the other 2 seasons were just kind of like, okay, like, but this season I'm like
actually addicted to it. Like it's got me in a death grip, and I don't really know what to do besides just continuously wait. Like I wish it was one of those shows that you could just like binge watch, but the fact that it's like making me have patience is like low-key killing me. So I'm gonna finish cutting out all these pieces and I'll see you afterwards. I was able to cut everything out and now I can tape it all together. Yay. Yes, I did it. I did it. It's all ready, you guys. The pattern's ready. I have one more on the strap. Oh my gosh. I feel like the older and older I get, I just like don't have much to yap about. So sometimes when I do like videos and stuff, it's like I don't even have anything to talk about because I don't even have anything to talk about with other people. Like it's just quiet. My life is just quiet now from now. And we're done. Let's go. Since I'm trying to get rid of my stash, I'll be using this polka dot fabric that's 100% cotton, and then I'm going to be lining it with a solid cotton because if I use the polka dot fabric, it will show through. So it's the next day and I'm gonna start cutting out my fabric because it takes me such a long time, but let me show you what I'm working with. So I'm going to be using this cotton fabric that I got from Joann's before they closed. I'm going to be laying out all of the pattern pieces and then cutting it out, hopefully. First off, you're going to want to take your center front and your side front on the bust pieces, and you're going to put that aside because you're only going to cut that out in lining. So the rest of the pieces we're just going to be laying down like normal. And then we're going to make sure, that all of the grain lines are on point. And I do that just with like a ruler, and then I make sure that it all goes nicely. And then I just like to weigh it down with something, so I'm just using this jar. Also, I have this weird thing in this table. So I'm gonna remove it. There you go. So I can cut on it a little bit easier. So I like to just weigh things down with a weight. I don't have my pattern weights here, so I'm just using like random stuff that I have around the house. So I'm going to start by cutting everything out. I made sure that's all on the grain line so far. So now I'm literally just going to be cutting the fabric with my fabric scissors. So I have everything cut out, and I also have my skirt over here. Now, the 2 top pieces for the bust, the center front side and the center front top, will only be cut out of lining. And then you only need to cut one of the bust gathers out of your face fabric. So we're going to start by sewing it in this order. We will be sewing it from the back to the side back, And then we're going to be sewing it from the center front to side front. And then lastly, we will be sewing the side front to the side back right down here. Now remember, each of these pieces has 1/2 inch of seam allowance, except for the center back right here. This is going to have 1 full inch of seam allowance, so you can put in a zipper. Next, you're gonna wanna sew the center front top to the center front side, and you're going to do that for both of the lining pieces. And then you will be taking your bust gathers, and you will be gathering from this side to this side, and this side to this side. So let's start with the center back and the side back. We're going to be sewing it down this seam. Also make sure that you're going to be doing this with the lining and the face fabric. So normally for really short seams like this, I don't use pins just because it takes way too much time and the fabric doesn't shift too much. So let's get to sewing. This is what the lining pieces are looking like so far. Now let's move on to the face fabric. So this is what it should be looking like. This is the center back, side back, remember? Now we can move on to the center front and the side front. Oh my gosh, where'd I put my shears? There they are. So this is what the lining front is looking like, and it's looking so good. Like when yes, you can't see it, but it looks really good. Okay, now onto the face fabric. Oh my gosh. Okay. And just like that, it's all done. I'm literally slaying. I'm slaying. Next, let's move on to the center front side and the center front top. Now remember, we're just going to be sewing it down this way, and then, yeah. Now with these ones, since they're curved, I'm going to be using some pins just because it like keeps it a little bit better, but you don't have to, like, you really don't. It's just a personal preference at this point. And make sure that you are matching the seams up at the side seam. Like don't try and like match the very point of it up. Just try and match 1/2 inch in up, if that makes sense. So this is just like a tip, but I normally don't like to sew like in opposite directions. So like if I'm sewing from like this end to this end, on the other side, I'm gonna wanna sew from the same end to the end that like you ended on, because the machine is gonna stretch it to a certain degree, and I would rather have the stretch be all one way than for it to be like opposite, if that makes sense. And this is what it is looking like, so let's get to serging to finish up these raw edges. I forgot, but you can also do the side seams before you serge, so you can serge everything at the same time. You know, I'm using someone else's machine, and every single time you turn it on, all the settings go back to the original one, so every time that like I adjust it at all, I have to make sure to do it like before I start sewing. But I'm not used to that because this is a computerized machine, and I'm really getting over this. Like, technology has not advanced. This is not an advancement for society. Let's go again. Okay, now we can get to serging. Okay, serging time. It's perfect. My serger tension is on point, okay? Look at this, look at it, look at it. Now let's move on to the face fabric. Also, like, some people, they literally will like weave in every single tail. But like, I just like chain it off, and then I cut it, and then like, I just serge like over it again. Like when I have to do the waist seam, or like when I'm doing the top seam, I'll just serge over it again. So we're gonna start on the gathered bust, and we are going to be going from the center front to these outside notches. And then you're going to be doing the same with the one down here, if that makes sense. Now, a tip that I would suggest is to go from this notch and then go to here, and then, you know, like backspace, and then cut it off, and then continue sewing onto the next bust cup. And definitely do that for the bottom as well. So just for a little clarity, I went through and I pinned where the notches are, and then this one is that line that you're going to be taping, and that's literally where like the middle of the bust pieces get sewn together. So that way all the gathers are going to be even. Now if you don't know how to gather, let me show you like an easy-ish technique. So this is the machine. Hopefully it will focus on the numbers. But I forced this one up here, that is my stitch length, and I forced it to the highest it could possibly go. So that way, when you pull it tight, it like shrinks up a lot more than it would if the stitches were all like small. So I'm gonna lower the camera now so you can see me actually sewing, hopefully, maybe. So let's get to sewing. And I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch first. You can do it this way, and I like to just hold my finger right here in the back because it crimps it, so it's like less work for you in the very end. So I got to the middle, so I'm going to back stitch twice, and then that's it. And then I will remove this piece, and you can see that nice crimp right here, and that'll make it easier for you to pull your gather eventually. And let's do it on the other side as well, but this time I'm gonna start with the back stitch. Okay, so this is the part that's going to get a little bit tricky, but if you hold on for a second, it will make sense eventually. So you're going to take one of your lining pieces for the bust, and we're going to be sewing this one over it. So it's going to be like this, and it's like the wrong side of the fabric on here will be on the wrong side of the fabric on here. So all the seams should be pointing towards the back. And we're just going to pin that so it makes it a little bit easier. And then as you're doing this, we're going to want to finesse the gathers. So you're going to take one of the strings. So one of the strings that you pull, it's going to gather it tighter. The other one, it's going to make like a little knot on the end. So make sure that when you start pulling that you have the right one, or it's going to be a nightmare. So if you can see, I've sectioned this off so it's all gathered pretty evenly along this one like seam. Also, if it does help, you can do another row of the gathers, but I'm just too lazy most of the time, and I haven't really had too much trouble with thread breaking, so I just do one stitch and then call it a day. Now I got it all pinned, and this is what it's looking like. So I'm going to do another top stitch that's 1/4 of an inch all around. Next, we're going to be taking the top bust and we're gonna sew it to the bottom half right here. Now I would highly suggest top stitching all of your seams because it's just going to be so much easier. But let's just say, if you're not entirely sure that this is going to fit you yet, don't do it, because it makes altering way harder. So I finished the lining, and this is what it is looking like. I ended up top stitching all my seams because I know I'm not going to be doing any alterations, but you can also iron your seams and the heat will keep the seams in place. So do not worry if you don't want to spend the time to top stitch. I also did the face fabric, which is literally the same as the lining, except you're going to be sewing the gathered piece in place of the bust. So now it's skirt time. Oh my gosh, you guys, that literally just stopped recording. I don't even know when it stopped recording. I've literally just been talking to no one at this rate. Great. Anyway, I just got the whole skirt gathered and we're gonna start sewing. So that's where we are right now. Let's go. Let's go, let's go. So we're going to start by sewing the top right here. We're going to sew the facing to the lining, and then in between it, you're going to want to sandwich some bias binding. So I pre-cut it so it's literally the same length as this, and then you're going to like be able to turn the ends in, but you're going to sandwich this in between the lining and the face fabric so it shows on the outside. Now, unfortunately, I'm not really going to be able to show you guys me sewing because look at my area right now. I can't really like put a tripod anywhere near me, but just know that's what I'm doing. I also ended up sewing my straps out of bias binding, and it's literally just like folded in fourths. So you're going to be sewing this, and as you are sandwiching this, you will also be sandwiching this in between the little like peak here and the back seam right here. We are on the last home stretch. We just need to do the zipper and the hem. Now, in her original dress, she does have braided horsehair in it, but I didn't want to do that because my fabric was like way too light for braided horsehair. So I just did a rolled hem. That's where you fold it over once, and then you fold it over again, and then you top stitch it down. Now finally, let's see how it all turned out. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking it. Also, if you end up making this dress, I would love to see it. So tag me either on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any social media, and I would love to see it.